well, sir. How are you?
Okay, Eric, how are you? Nice
I'm
to meet
okay.
you.
Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty. My screens went away and I couldn't find them, so I apologize.
Okay, that's okay. It shows the kind of persistence you have, you know. A lot of
Yeah.
people give up. I could tell you don't give up, and, you know, that's really where I want to start is at the beginning of your journey before you were able to make awesome calls. Why don't you tell us how you got into the industry and what it was like to make awful calls for you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me just to clarify. I don't own or run or specifically run it by myself. It was opened by a gentleman by the name of AJ. He's a gentleman who actually founded and started Awesome Calls. I've just been very fortunate to be a part of Awesome Calls for quite some time.
Okay, I see.
It's basically a group of professional traders that are out there to help other traders learn how to be consistently profitable in the market. You know, because for a long time I hated giving money to the market, so now I like to receive money from the market. And I think that's what we all strive for.
Yeah, and we have a common mission, having a community to pay it forward to and help out. So what were you doing before you became a trader?
Well, for the longest time, I've always just been, just a blue-collar construction worker. I started off with my dad. My dad was a carpenter. Back in the day, I started working when I was 13 or 14 years old, going, pushing brooms and picking up wood. And then after that, I moved on to being an electrician for a few years until I found that to be way too dangerous.
Okay. So you were an apprentice electrician. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I got into the heating and air conditioning business years and years ago, and I basically just stuck with it. And that's what I did for a very, very long time until I found the stock market.
Okay, how did you find it? Who introduced you to it, and were they your mentor?
No, I really didn't have a mentor per se. I did find, I think what a lot of people find is the penny stock market. For whatever reason, people are drawn to the penny stock market because a lot of people want to start off and don't have a lot of money to start trading with. So the penny stock market does become a little more enticing in a way, and it makes it,
unfortunately,
it makes it a real, realize that you can trade and you don't have to have a $1 million account. So I got drawn into the penny stock market, and I did that. I had some, fairly successful for, I don't know, a couple of years. And then I just kind of, I found out the penny stock market is fairly limited. It's playing small cap stocks. You are very limited on what you can do on a daily basis. And
they're not even small cap. They're micro, beneath micro, right? So
they're micro caps, and you see a lot of these,
pump and dump
services out there, and that's mainly what they do. They're just small cap penny stock traders that trade low float stocks that spike in, in the day. I wanted to do this for a living, so I wanted to expand my knowledge and my overall knowledge of the market, and that's when I was introduced to AJ in Awesome Calls years back, and I was invited to come in there, and I spent a week in that room, and I basically watched and I learned, and I was completely blown away by the knowledge because it's not just one person. There's a group of professional traders, from option players to specific traders who trade just specific sectors like, bank sector or I'm sorry, the oil sector and specific things. There's options traders. So it's not just one type of trading. There's so much diversity in the room that I actually got into learning how to trade options as well. So, and I kind of moved away from the small cap, micro cap stocks. And what I found is that once I did that, I had tremendous more success going that way.
Okay.
Well, I became, I to trade biotech stocks. I trade things, based off earnings. We see like, the SPY's moving in the right direction. We're kind of, kind of give you a little more my background. I am more of a very technical based trader. I'm a very specific in what I trade and how I trade. I use, certain technical indicators. I love Fibonacci as one of my go-to resources. I know a lot of people in the Forex market love the parabolic SAR indicator and some Fibonacci. So I'm very technical. I don't just trade randomly. I have a specific system that I developed. It took me years and years of failing forward to
Okay, that's what I want to get to because I went to your Twitter feed.
Okay.
I didn't really check out the website much, but I noticed on your Twitter feed that you had a tweet in there. I don't know if it was pinned or not. That at one time you were $250,000 in the hole, and you didn't give up, and now you have had your epiphany and can make a living off the market. Is that true? And how were you able to maintain the faith to believe that eventually you could come back and master this?
Yeah, so it was, I put a tweet out there the other day. It wasn't of the money situation. At one point, 10 years ago, I found myself completely broke. Had no job. I just gotten to the lowest point in my life. I actually had nowhere to live. I was actually homeless, considered homeless at one point.
Wow.
And I just kind of sat there one day and I kind of looked at myself and I go, you know what, you're better than this. You have all the potential. You just got to stop doing the things that aren't working. And from that point, I literally decided that day, that moment, that this was going to be the end of where I'm at, right? I didn't grow up super poor. I grew up in a middle-class family. We didn't struggle, but we weren't rich by any means. And what I found myself is that sitting there, basically I was living, a guy hired me to work with him, kind of giving me a chance. And I lived in this metal barn type building, and I had a cot. And that's all I had to my name. I had the clothes on my back and kind of my cot. And I sat there and I thought that I'll never be at this point again in my life. I will never, and it starts right now. And from that point, I made a decision. I told the gentleman, I said, you know what? You've been a blessing in my life. Thank you for the opportunity, but I have to go do bigger and better things. And that's exactly what I did. I went back. I found a job. I took any job that I could do. I got a job being an apartments maintenance guy, just so I could get my foot in the door and start working my way back to the top of where I know I have the possibility and where I should be in life. And it's not, I'm not some great entrepreneur, but I think we all have that ability to be great. We just get complacent in most people get complacent in that, getting by is okay. And I just wanted more out of life, and that's what I did. I went and got a job. I started working my way up. I got promoted, and whenever I got to the point where I wasn't happy with what I'm doing and I wanted more, I went and got more. And eventually I found the stock market, and I said, you know what, I'm going to make a career out of this. When I found stock trading, I knew within the first day, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. And whatever it takes to do this is what I'm going to do. And basically, I was still working a full-time job. I'm married with 2 kids,
Okay.
And at the time, they were very small. So my training or studying, as most people say, started at about 9 or 10 o'clock at night after everything was said and done. All the kids were in bed. My training and studying started at 9 o'clock, and we go till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And then I get a couple hours of sleep, get back up, go to my day job, and come back and do the process all over. Meanwhile, watching the market during the day and kind of watching things in real time. And that's just kind of
interesting
where my progression began to grow. And as every day went on, my passion for this got more and more and more. And it's never stopped since then. So every day in the stock market is a brand new great opportunity for everyone.
Yeah, you're learning or earning. Let me ask you this. I do present this question to almost everyone I interview, and what you were doing and the way you came back. Congratulations on your Lazarus rising from the ashes. And how many years would you say it took you to have some breakthroughs and be a more consistent trader, that you had the confidence that you could, make money in the markets if you put your focus, attention, and energy into it? How long did it take you?
I would say it took me, I really didn't have any huge downfalls in the penny stock market. I just wasn't going very fast. And
Okay.
I realized that once I made that decision to I wanted to be a what they call a stock market trader, not just a niche trader. I wanted to be an overall trader. Once I made that decision, that's when it really started. And it took about, I would say, 2 years of.
Okay.
It took about 2 years for me to kind of get to the point where I went full time. And I just went full time trading not too long ago. And, you know, I credit all this to my wife, because it got to the point where she would see me every day going to work, and she could see I completely lost the desire and the passion to do that. She knew this is when she just, you know, one day we were sitting on a Saturday, and she goes, we just came back from vacation. She goes, "You don't want to go back to work, do you?" And I said, "No, not really." She goes, "Well, do what you want to do, what you were meant to do, and go quit your job." She goes, I'm behind you 100%. Go quit your job. And I thought about it for a couple of hours, and I said, "You know what? I'm going to do exactly that."
Wow,
so
it's always helps.
I quit my job.
The faith of your wife behind you.
Yeah, it was, you know, because when I first started out this, it wasn't like that. You know, I said to her, "I want to be a stock trader." And she was like, "What? Where did that come
crazy.
from?"
That's a gambler.
But
you want to gamble?
Yeah.
Well, how are our
kids?
kids? How's our family going to have security if you do that?
Yeah, you know, and even what most people find is that when you tell somebody, especially the people who are closest to you, that's where you get the most resistance, because it's not normal. It's not a normal job, right? People think you should get a degree, you go to college, you get a good job, and then that's what you do. If you do anything out of that, well, it's just a little bit too risky and, you know, whatever. But life's too short to just do what everybody else is doing, right? Do what you want to do. Do whatever that is, whether it's being the greatest accountant you can be or being the best painter. If that's what drives you, then you've already won. You know, I listened to a gentleman by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not sure if you know who that is, or some people.
No, but I agree with you that money comes and goes, and time is gone forever. It's our most precious currency.
Correct. And what I found myself doing is, you know, being in the heating and air conditioning business in the state of Texas, it's probably the hottest spots on the face of the earth is what I see. But I found myself in extremely long hours, and not, you know, even though I was making very, very good money, I couldn't enjoy that with my family because I was always working. You know, I just basically, I wasn't working for a living. I was living to work, right? And
yeah,
I didn't want to do that. So that's when I put myself together a 2-year plan. I said, you know what? I'm going to take 2 years. I'm going to put all these goals ahead of me. And until every single one of those goals are met, I will not go full time. And I had met that prior to my wife telling me that I should quit. And once that happened, that's where it all kind of transpired from. And
what a great story.
Then, you know, we've been
you're going
to
give a lot of people hope.
And
a lot of people hope.
Not that I'm some special. It's just I don't know the best way to describe it, but a lot of people say it may be cliche, but you know, you can accomplish anything once you put your mind to it, and that's exactly what it is. It's just about being self-disciplined and having that determination and passion, but you have to find that in whatever it is you're doing. It may not be the stock market. It may be, you know, whatever it is, you know, you want to start a business or whatever it is, you want to open a restaurant. But you just have to have that passion to do it every single day and love it every single day. And that's what I got out of the stock market, because every day is such a new opportunity.
Okay.
And I credit a lot of what I've accomplished in these last couple of years to the professionals and the gentlemen, you know, especially AJ from Off Calls.
I wonder if I know.
These are traders of 30 plus years in the market. And they basically took me under the wing and said, "Hey, look, we've seen," you know, he told me this. He said, "I've seen what you've done." He goes, "I have a lot of respect for what you've accomplished." He goes, "I want to help you achieve your goals of wanting more and being a better trader." And that's exactly what I've become.
Okay, so would the TTM squeeze indicator be something that AJ came up with, and can you talk to us a little bit about how you use that tool?
No, these are like I say, my platform that I use for charting is Thinkorswim. That's who I started with, and I just kind of stuck with them because I'm just one of those traders, you know, out of habit type deals.
Right.
I started using the TTM squeeze way back when I was penny stock trading, and what I found is that it didn't really work with the small and micro cap stocks. But once I got into trading mid to large cap stocks, I found that it worked, very decent. I only use a few indicators. I use the parabolic SAR indicator, which is more of a trend indicator, because I am more of a trend trader. I found it easier to just trade with the trend and start trying to guess where things are going and just go with the flow, right?
Right.
So most of my setup is
and you mainly day trade because you have a 5-minute chart up there, 8-minute, and then
for the most part, I only trade the first couple of hours in the day, because what I found is I want to trade the most volatile times of the day. Over the course of my progress, I found that I would get chopped up and lose everything that I gained in the morning by trading the afternoon, middle of the day when the volatility is less. So I only trade the first hour and a half to 2.5 hours of the market open, and then I kind of take a break. I go do what I want to do during the day, and I come back, typically, for the close of the day, the last hour. And sometimes I'll trade that depending on if there's, a decent setup for myself, or I'll just watch how things close and set up for the next day.
Okay.
So a lot of what you're seeing here, like the TTM squeeze, I don't usually, it's the gentleman named Carter.
How do you use the parabolic SAR? Use it for breakouts or for where a market could go to as potential targets? I'm curious how you use the SAR.
Yeah, so I use that for potential targets. I'm also using, if you can see these here, these are just your standard pivot points. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Just standard pivot points. And those have been, the four traders have been using those forever. Because what I found is the pivot points are actually one of the only leading indicators that I found that has really has a lot of consistency, because they are plotted the next day off the previous day's high, low, and close.
They're like magnets.
All these, right. And so what you're looking at is these particular lines of support are plotted off yesterday's price action, right? And they're plotted since the day open. So this is telling me that these levels of support should be, I use these as intraday targets.
Oh, yeah, they're going to take all of those out.
Yeah. So I look at them for, levels, key levels of support. And as we move through these levels of support, the lower you go or the higher they go, the stronger they get. And I found that to be very, very true, just using these over, a period of time. Because I run on multiple time frames.
I have one question. I have one question for you from our community. Forget trading. How about some questions? How about some information on how to find a wife like that?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Forget about trading. How do you find a wife like you found? How do you do that, man?
Well,
that was your best long-term trade you ever made.
It is. She was my high school sweetheart. We dated in high school, and we had separated, or not separated, but we kind of lost contact for about 10 years. And about 8 years ago, I found her on, I don't remember how, it was something related to Facebook. I didn't really use Facebook much. Yeah. I got on there, I started using it, and it's one of those, here's some people you may know through our relative contacts and through my friends. And I found her, and I got in contact with her.
And you went and closed the deal.
We met again. And from the first day I met her, I told her right then and there, I said, I'll never let you go again. I said, I told you in high school I wanted to marry you, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm never letting you go again.
What a great life story. You need to write a book, buddy. You're right. You need to write a book. So, the way that you rallied from homelessness to where you are now, to reuniting with your college sweetheart, and doing what you love to do. I just it's a great story. It's very inspiring, because a lot of people go through what you go through. Maybe not. It's all a matter of degrees, but you have a great spirit of belief and faith. Does it have anything to do with just your moral code or anything in the invisible world that gives you strength like that?
Well, a lot of it comes over the last year. My father passed away unexpectedly a year ago in January. And, he was always my biggest supporter growing up. So that had a lot to do with it, because my dad's work ethic that's where I got my work ethic
Okay.
and drive from my father. He was never one to quit and give up, no matter how tough or things got. Because there were periods in my life growing up that we had to move around a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he was a construction worker. He was a carpenter, and he was great at what he did. But the construction industry is not always the most consistent. So seeing him,
recessions, he would suffer. It was like boom or bust kind of a business,
right?
Wasn't it? Yeah,
right. And that's kind of why I got out of that business, because I knew that I wanted to do something, in my life. I just didn't. It was the greatest compliment. I didn't really want to. I wanted to be like my father, but I didn't want to wind up like my father, be in his situation, because he always gave me and my brother the things that we wanted, but he had to make a lot of sacrifices and do a lot of these things that I'm not the only one that he had to get a lot of sacrifice and not give himself much, and I wanted to kind of have it better for my children, and there for a long time I didn't even expect to ever have children, because I was never in a place or a position that I thought I should bring children into this world and put them in a bad situation. But then again, there goes my wife. She brought me belief in myself. She kind of picked me back up, and she's always been my biggest supporter. Her along with my father. And then when my father passed away, I know it sounds a little dumb, but I talk to my dad every day. I told him, I tell him that I'm doing exactly what you told me to do. That I said I'm never giving up. And one of the biggest things I accomplished in my life was actually buying a house. I bought a house a few years ago, and I'll never forget when he came over. He said, "You've done exactly what you wanted to do, son," and I knew you would. And from that moment, I keep that with me, and that's what drives me every single day, is knowing that he may not be physically with me, but I can still have that every single day to share with him.
You know what, Arick? It's an honor to meet you. Thank you for being an open book and wearing your heart on your sleeve and telling your story. And I think a story like this is more helpful than any kind of indicator or market forecast or even a good trade, because you're a real life example of being able to rally, and you've learned the secret to trading. It's perseverance, discipline, and living through adversity. And you're now my trading warrior brother, Arick, and glad I reached out to you on Twitter. And my forecast was correct. You would be great.
Well, thank you.
It was a great interview. It was a great interview, buddy. I really appreciate your time and wish you continued success, and I'm sure you'll have it. You sound greatly blessed.
Well, I appreciate it very much, and like I say, thank you for giving me the time to share my story. I don't share it with many people, but I thought that this was a great chance to kind of
this has been a helpful
other traders, because I've been through where everybody, if anybody's listening to this, I've been exactly where you're at, and not that I'm some wonderful trader, but as long as you stay with it, as long as you stay passionate about this, we always say we don't lose, we learn, right? There's no losers, there's learners. So as long as you keep that in mind and you keep failing forward, then I think it'll be just fine.
Okay, so you could find Arick at Art Trading, ARTRADING 125 on Twitter, and you could find him most likely in the trading room at awesomecalls.com. Is that correct, buddy?
Correct. That's correct. Right. Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, Arick.
Awesome calls. Yeah, awesomecallstrading.com. I trade in there live every day. Like I say, I'm in there.
Okay.
I'm always open for. My DM on Twitter is always open, so anybody with questions or concerns, I'm always available to answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you, Arick. Good hunting this week and throughout the rest of the year. It was really a pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure for me as well, sir. I very much appreciate it.
Okay. Sandrine saying, Arick, you need to write a book. So they agree with me. All right, F.A.C.E.
I can barely read. I barely have the patience to read a book, let alone write it. But I'll continue to tell my story.
All right, buddy. So, F.A.C.E., that's it. Thank you, Arick. You know where to find him. And we'll see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday. Good hunting. Adios. Thanks again, Arick.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.